Good evening, everyone. This is a call to order of the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals in the City Hall of Greenfield at 6:30 PM, April 14th, 2024. Fair statement. This meeting is being recorded. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify me, the chairperson, at this time. Anyone else recording the meeting? Okay, thank you. In accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20G, no person shall address a meeting of a public body without permission of the chair, and all persons shall, at the request of the chair, be silent. No person shall disrupt the proceedings of a meeting of a public body. If after clear warning from the chair, a person continues to disrupt the proceedings, the chair may order the person to withdraw from the meeting, and if the person does not withdraw, the chair may authorize a constable or other officer to remove the person from the meeting. Okay, at 6:30, our first hearing. Mr. Clerk Pro Temp, would you read the application into the record?
Application of PV squared for property located at 50 Raymond Road, Assessor's Tax Map R12 Lot 65, which is located in the Rural Residential RC Zoning District for a special permit pursuant to sections 200-716, 200-8.3, and 200-8.4 of the zoning ordinance in order to allow for a 14.7 kilowatt DC ground-mounted PV array consisting of 35 Q-cell 420 watt panels at this location.
And sitting on the panel are
Victor Marcella, Jim Nguyen.
Deborah Jones.
Mark Maloney.
and David Singer. Okay, who's here for the applicant?
Online here, Janine Hendigas from PV Squared.
Oh,
Hiya.
Okay, hi.
Hi. So you want me to just run through the quick presentation here? And
Please.
then, yeah, okay, great. So I am the new project manager for this. Bill Killohill, who submitted the paperwork previously and coordinated with Eric, is no longer with PV Squared. So I'm stepping up here. So yep, we've got a ground mounted array. Let me try just sharing the screen if that's okay.
Please.
Yeah. And tell me if you can see that.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. So 50 Raymond Road, you read off a bunch of these details here, the 14.7 kilowatt DC size of a ground mounted array. The AC size is 11.4, 35 modules. That's 5 rows of 7 modules in landscape. And I've got a few photographs or the plan sets, that kind of thing, that should help describe that a little bit more. It's approximately 17.4 by 39.7, which is a little under 700 square foot of coverage. The back side of it is about 10.5 feet tall, not to exceed the 15-foot height max. And then the mods are the Hanwha Q-cell 420s. Solar Foundations is the ground mounting system that we're using. Let's see, hang on. And just everybody knows where it is. We're in the north end of town up here. And just a little bit closer. So Country Club Road going up that side, routes 5 and 10 here, 91 right next door, and the railroad goes right through. So this one is probably the most telling of, you know, the detail. And I believe this Bill submitted this already to you guys. So we're over here on the side of the property. This is the railroad track that goes through here. House and barn and shed and that kind of thing over here. They've got a stage, is what they call it here, for and we're gonna mount our utility disconnect and that sort of thing on the stage structure itself, but the ground mount is over here in a big wide open field. So let me see what else I got in here. Just to give you a sense of what it looks like. We got some pictures here. That's looking to the southwest. That's that railroad behind right there, the tracks. A little bit to the northwest. This is looking kind of north, you know, big wide open space. That's looking back towards the stage, sort of to the east. The houses here in the distance past these trees. The stake layout, again, gives you the dimensions. Solar Foundations did the design and the engineering of the base of it. And they're the ones who will actually install the base. Then we come in and we put in the PV panels and do all the electrical work and that sort of thing. So just real quick look at these drawings. They use screws that go into the ground. I don't know if you've ever seen that sort of thing, but they're great. If anybody wants to geek out, here's the electrical drawing. And the inverters and the modules. I can give you those details if you need them. Should I keep sharing or is that enough?
You have more to share?
Say again?
Do you have more to share?
Nope, that's the main presentation.
Okay, well, thank you. Anybody from the board have any questions?
What's the life expectancy modules?
They're warranted by the manufacturer for 25 years. The same
And
thing
what-
with the inverter. We always do an extended warranty for the inverter to match.
And what plan do you have at the end of 25 years? You abandon them in place or you remove them?
Oh, I would see, well, we have to see what the client wants to do. They might want to just leave them. A lot of people will either warranty for 25 years. It doesn't mean they're going to stop working at 25 years. And in 25 years, who knows where the solar, equipment world will be. They might have, 700-watt panels at that point, and they want to switch them out or something like that. It's hard to look into the crystal ball there on that one.
So what is the white structure again? You said a staging? What exactly
And
is
they
that?
call it a stage. I think they've had gatherings there in the past. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay, so it's part of their property.
Yeah, it's part of
really
their
not-
property. It's
It's
a
not
big.
part, it's not part of your installation, it's just.
No, right. We are gonna use, it's a big property. We are gonna
Okay.
use the structure itself just to put the disconnect on. And we've got a variance from the utility for that. Because it's a solid sort of structure. And then we're also, they want additional electrical conduit run out here and that sort of thing. So we are going to be trenching from the array itself to the disconnect and then back to the house. I honestly don't know exactly what they're intending on using because they've asked for extra sleeves, maybe more electrical equipment out there or something like that. I don't really know.
So is this array or?
Excuse me. Yeah, you need to be recognized
Oh.
by
okay.
me, but you'll have an opportunity to speak.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the board? Have any questions? I have one question. Is it the disc golf property?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was there today.
Oh, good.
Okay. All right, there's no other questions. Please. Yes, go ahead.
It looked like somebody had chatted up there asking if we were still previewing or if the sound was turned off. Deborah, can you hear us now? I think that's a no.
Let's have hers on mute.
All right, Deborah, if I saw I don't know. I didn't-
Yeah, there's no mic to tell whether hers.
No
is on.
mic. That didn't show my.
All right, we'll keep looking. Mr. Clerk, okay, you want to read into the records what others have told us?
Sure. So this is from Garrett Postema at MassDOT. Good afternoon, Eric. MassDOT has received notice from the zoning board of appeals regarding a proposed solar field at 50 Raymond Road. See attached. MassDOT has no objection to this solar field. However, should the proponent wish to do any work within the state highway layout, for example, tree trimming or clearing for increased sun to the solar field, they will first need to file an application for a state highway access permit and receive the issued permit from MassDOT prior to doing any work within the state highway layout. Is that good enough, or do I need to read like all the signature information from?
No, that's fine.
Is that sufficient?
Yep.
Inspector of Buildings notes that permits are required through the inspections department. Fire prevention officer has no comment, issues with proposed project. Engineering superintendent, no comment or issues with proposed project. Department of Planning and Development, no comment or issues with proposed project. Board of Health, no comment or issues with proposed project.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything from the board at this time? Okay. Excuse me, Mark. Now's the time for the public to be able to speak.
Yeah, I'm Terry Gray.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, Terry, and anyone speaking, please, your name, thank you. You've done well with that, and your address, please,
62 Graves Road
in Greenfield.
in Greenfield.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
My question is this array for personal use or for selling on the electrical grid or both?
Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. Most arrays of this size are for the use of the customer. Any excess energy that is not used by folks on site will be sold back to the grid. That's a normal sort of, whether it's rooftop or ground mount, same kind of thing. Does that
Reason
answer
I
it?
asked that question.
Just hold, please. Are you finished?
Yeah, I just want to know if that answered the question.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And the reason for that question, I was just wondering if this is the beginning of setting up the system and add on, and then you have a big field of solar arrays out there, but it sounds to me like it's just for their own thing, so.
Yep.
Because I've seen them where they're huge,
If you could help me, Eric, in the zoning bylaws, there's different types of applications for use of solar panels. There's small scale and large scale. This is a small scale application.
Right.
Okay, just so I think
So
what
if they
you're
wanted to
describing
do
might be
something
more of
bigger,
a large,
they'd
they'd have to come back and ask for a special permit again. Okay? Any other questions? Anybody else have any comments or questions? You okay? You have anything else you want to ask before I close it?
Nope, I'm all set.
You're all set. Okay. So the others, I guess, are here for something different. Well, there's Mary. Mary? Yes, Mary, you want to say something?
Mary Mariner,
Yes, thank you. And your address is?
62 Graves Road.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering how far away from our rear property line the panels would be set up.
Okay, we have a map. I don't know where your property, what number?
62 Graves.
Okay, I was up there today and I went down the end driveway. Are
Yeah.
you're the house just before or
No, we
after?
are.
Oh, you're on Graves Road, so you're behind,
Red maroon door, white house, big white fence.
so if you could help describe where, what's her first?
Could I just handle this and finish sharing? So it's not.
Sorry, I didn't catch your first name.
Sorry, Janine.
Janine, thank you, Janine.
Yep.
Janine,
Woods.
I know you're coming in this late in the day. So there are people here from Graves Road or specifically from
Yes.
62 Graves Road. Would it
Number
be,
62, you said? Okay.
yeah, would it be, what's the
Let me-
distance from the back of their property to the solar
Let
panel?
me just do a quick, I'm looking at the mass mapper. Hang on 1 second. 62. 640 feet, something like that, through the woods. So I don't think you're gonna see it.
So the reference frame though, folks, is as far as I understand it, I would call it maybe there's a structure, maybe they're calling it a pavilion of some sort. You know where that is?
Yes.
It's there. If you extend the pavilion line towards the railroad track, that's where it's going to be located.
640 feet.
Yeah, but so do you know where that spot is?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah.
That you want to
Just
say?
trying to figure out what we could see from the back of our
Mhm.
property, and I'll have to take a walk out there, I guess.
Okay. And are there trees between your property and that spot?
Yes, there is.
There are.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Some there is, some ours.
Yeah, okay.
Just they can see depending on cutting down trees or anything.
Can you see the pavilion from your house?
No.
No, not right at present.
Anything else? Anyone else? Any questions on the board? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you very much, Janine.
Thank you.
Thank you. So because the next one has a larger group of people, we want to, we feel comfortable deliberating now on this one. Does that work? I hear a motion. Mark?
Move to accept the project as described.
No, thank you.
It's actually.
Move to accept
Hold on,
the
read this again.
application.
I move to accept the application of PV Squared for property located at 50 Raymond Road, Assessor's Tax Map R12 Lot 65, which is located in the rural residential RC zoning district for a special permit pursuant to sections 200-7.16, 200-8.3, and 200-8.4 of the zoning ordinance, in order to allow for a 14.7 kilowatt DC ground-mounted PV array consisting of 35 Q cell 420 watt panels at this location.
With the following condition.
So what?
With the following conditions. Just say with the following.
Oh, with the following conditions.
All right.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
Any conditions anybody can think of?
I mean, we should just say that it's going to be in reference to the application as presented,
Yeah.
you know, those panels at that location.
So it'll be built according to the specifications.
Specifications
provided,
submitted with the application.
With the application, that's one
what we all
condition.
looked at.
Okay, anything else? Anything about the trees or anything? Is it far enough away that we need to put a condition that the trees between 62 Graves Road and the panel will remain standing except those that need to be cut? Or
And, well, before they cut anything, they are going to have to get in touch with Mass DOT so that they'll be limited as to what they can cut from them. But it seemed to me that it's very far away from the property. And it's not going to even be as tall. I don't think it's going to be any taller than the pavilion that's there.
Okay,
I-
and they can't see the pavilion, so, yeah, okay. So the only condition is to incorporate by reference the.
Yep.
Okay, so second the amendment.
I'll second it.
Okay, and so now I'll take a roll call vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
One at a time.
Oh,
Oh,
Aye.
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 Aye, okay, let the record show it was unanimous. Congratulations, Janine. They just, now, I don't know if you understand, or if they understand that this decision, it's a positive decision. It'll be written up in a couple of days. It'll be signed off, sent to the clerk's office. Once it hits the clerk's office, anyone who might object to this decision has 20 days, including weekends, so it's not business days, 20 days to file an appeal in a court of proper jurisdiction. Once the 20 days goes by without an appeal, then your customer can go to the clerk's office and get the decision stamped. No appeals have been filed, and that probably should be recorded in the registry of deeds.
And so, sorry,
I'll say it again. Go ahead.
a quick
Right.
question so wait the 20 days before we can even apply for permits, is that right? Or for
You
building
could
permits?
apply for permits based on this decision,
Okay,
but if it's appealed,
okay,
obviously, then there'd be a problem. It didn't look like anyone here was
Yep.
interested in appealing it. But once the 20 days have gone by and the clerk can provide you the certified statement on the decision, then you're free to apply for the permit without worry.
okay, great.
All right.
Thank you so much, appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you. Thanks for stepping in.
Have a good
Yeah.
night. Thank you.
Okay. So we've got. People have spoken. Okay, it's 6:49, so please, Mr. Clerk Pro Temp, read into the record the application.
Application of 15 Arch Street LLC for property located at 15 Arch Street, Assessors Map 69, Lot 74, which is located in the General Industry GI zoning district for a special permit pursuant to sections 200-4.11 C18, 200-7.17, 200-8.3, and 200-8.4 of the zoning ordinance, in order to allow the additional use of marijuana product manufacturing to the existing use of marijuana cultivation at this location.
Okay, who's here for the applicant?
Good evening.
Good evening.
John Haddon for the applicant. I'm joined by Josh Levin and Dan Sullivan, co-owners,
And
Jack Motis, who will be running our manufacturing.
okay, that we're all coming up to talk.
No, they're in the audience, but just to identify them
Thank you.
in case they have input.
Can you quickly identify everyone again for the meeting?
Sorry, Josh Levin, co-owner, Shelburne Road, Greenfield, Dan Sullivan,
And so forth.
Buckland, Jack Motis, Felcherton.
And you are from?
John Haddon,
From?
28 Federal Street, Greenfield, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
So the special permit application is pretty straightforward because what we are doing is just asking for an additional use. There will be no alterations to the exterior or interior of the building, no alterations or additional equipment needed, no additional construction, no anything. Essentially, what we have is we have a cultivation facility, and the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission has divided the different industries up into cultivation, manufacturing, and retail. In order, as a cultivator, we are allowed to grow, process, and package. As a product manufacturer, we would be allowed to grow, process, manufacture, and package. Manufacturing, as defined by the CCC, is simply the transformation of the material into some other product. So essentially what we want to do is we want to make hash. When the industry started, it was 85% flower, right? Just the buds that people probably are generally familiar with. As time has gone on, the industry has become more and more vapable products. Isolates. So I don't know if you've ever seen hash. It looks sort of like a clear-ish kind of, I don't know, like wax almost. And what we want to do is our whole mission is to provide a product to the market that's very organic and clean. We don't use any artificial or synthetic fertilizers. We grow in living organic soil. And we don't use any pesticides. We use natural pest management and all that other stuff. And so what we want to do is we want to expand our list of products, essentially from what we have right now, which is just cured flower and ground pre-rolls, into this hash rosin. It's a fresh frozen live rosin is what it's called. By cutting the plants and freezing them within 90 minutes of them being cut, they're considered to be live plants and freshly frozen, which then allows the plant to simply be a little bit more natural rather than sort of dying on the vine and then being processed. What we were planning on making is called a ice water hash, otherwise sometimes known as a bubble hash. What we'll be doing is we'll be taking basically a giant trash barrel, not a giant trash barrel, but what you would see like at a normal sort of facility, right? Where you put trash in when you get it down to Home Depot, and you fill it with ice water, and you put the cannabis in the barrel and you stir it with a paddle, and it knocks off these things called trichomes, and then you filter out the trichomes, and you freeze dry them and press them, and voila, you have live rosin or fresh frozen live rosin. It'll allow us just to expand our products. As you can see on the floor plan, I draw it up for you guys. We have the facility already has the space for it. I marked the floor plan. The section marked A is our dry room, which has a 5-ton HVAC system. It can get down to about 40 degrees, so it can provide us the cold environment that we will put the barrel of ice water in. The area marked B is where we do all our processing and packaging currently. We have a couple stainless steel tables that are 6 feet long, where the freeze dryer can go right next to it. It's about 2 feet wide by about 5 feet tall. Has rows for about 10 trays. And then those two stainless steel tables can have basically a rosin press, which is a small machine that has two heated plates that heats the plates up to about 160 to 180 degrees. And you press the freeze dried product in between there and press it, and the heated pressure creates the rosin. The rosin will be sold in simply little containers. But yeah, it's just a way for us to sort of compete in an ever growing competitive market, and offer more things than just the few things that we have, at a very sort of low entry point and a very low, very quickly anyway, because we don't have to change. And that's about it.
Any questions?
So you're doing no physical changes at all to the existing structure, no additional equipment, air conditioning, nothing.
Just the equipment I described, a giant press barrel.
Also.
Yeah, and freeze dryer that's about this big, and a press.
There won't be anything else generating any more noise.
No.
So anybody else want to? Okay. So if I understand it,
I would like to comment when I get a chance. I strongly object to this facility being expanded.
Deborah, thank you very much. There'll be a public comment time, and right now we're in the public hearing, the moment where the board hears from the applicant. But
Okay,
thank you,
I'm
and
sorry.
hold
Never
on.
attended one of these meetings, so I didn't know the process. I just didn't want to miss my turn. So
Understand.
wait, please let me know when I can speak.
I
Thank you.
promise I will. Thank you. So if I understand it, the laws and regulations governing marijuana require that if you change from outright growing plants to now doing something different, making the hashish, as you say, or hash oil, that by doing that, you've gone into the category of manufacturing under their regulations, and therefore that's a change of use.
Well, it's a different license. And when we came for a special permit before you a couple of years ago, what we were applying for was to be essentially a cultivator. And the definitions in the zoning board, the zoning ordinance for Greenfield followed the CCC, where they have it listed out. The definitions in the zoning board ordinance for Greenfield have product manufacturer.
So
and
you're adding what to it? Manufacturing?
just manufacturing.
Okay. And you are going to, there's space that exists now that's marked in yellow, but you're going to add the manufacturing to that space.
Essentially, we're going to use that space to do this
The
process.
work that you're describing.
Right, it's space that we currently use already and that can have sort of a dual function, but it's not really as involved as that. Essentially, the dry room is empty. It takes about, when the plants are harvested, it takes about 10 days for them to dry, and at which point they're hanging in that room. The other 20 days of the month, that room is essentially empty, with its lights off and not being put to use. So with the ability to make it a cold space, because that's part of the ice water hash process, is you need it to be in a cold room. We can lower the temperature in that room, and therefore, with the existing equipment that we have, we can put it to that use.
With respect to what you're doing, is there any change in smells that will be created, or anything different that would create a stronger smells in the facility itself?
No, once the process, or once the flour itself is cut and put into the ice water, it becomes much more subdued. Yeah, and we haven't I haven't noticed any exterior smells myself going in and out every day, but what we have is a sealed environment inside. There's no air exchange between any of our rooms that have product in the.
I guess my question is, will it produce anything that has?
Additional? No.
No, okay. And as far as how you manage the facility in terms of the HVAC, will there be any change to how the HVAC system will need to work with the work you've done?
No. We might have a little bit of a reduced, well, no, because the growing time for the rooms will be essentially the same it is right now.
And that's what the HVAC system's mostly.
Right, so the grow lights themselves generate a lot of heat, so we need very large air conditioners to cool the rooms down to a temperature so the plants don't die, essentially.
And it won't increase it won't increase the power, the HVAC's,
Dan?
So that room that we would be using to watch the hash has a very small unit that's up the hill compared to the flower room air conditioners are down the street. So the one up the hill won't run any longer than it already is, because it already maintains that room at a constant temperature, even if it's not being used. Right,
Okay.
so it's essentially the same daytime use.
Okay, as long as there's not a change or an increase, yes.
I got a question going back to the original application, January 22nd, 2021, if I'm not out of order. You said the condensers will be located outside of the building and that are residential to scale and not loud at all. Will there be any more noise or emitting from these condensers?
No.
Do they run constantly?
No, they run when the lights run. So when we originally had it set up, we had a flip-flop system. So we had one room on for 12 hours a day and then the other room on for 12 hours a day. So our load was half of the total kilowatts of all of our lights. And because of the air conditioners running at night causing, disruptions for our neighbors, we changed it. So now we have our air conditioner, our lights on from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And so the air conditioners are only on from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., which has doubled our peak load to the detriment of our electricity bill, but it has severely decreased the amount of times that the condensers are on at night.
Anybody else? All right. Just to flesh out the elephant in the room, talk a little bit about the noise that has been emanating from the HVAC system.
Certainly.
And please explain for
Yeah,
those that are here and those that are watching, what has transpired from your perspective.
Right. So, we have 4 10-ton units that are on the base of the driveway. They're there because that's where the flower rooms are. So in terms of installing them and having the lines run into those rooms, we couldn't put them on the roof because the roof couldn't hold them. And we couldn't put them on the other side of the building because that's owned by the railroad company. So essentially they're 4 10-ton units. They have 2 compressors. When the winter hit, so we just started operating in October. We started the company in 2018, but it took 5 years to get through the CCC in order to get us to where we could operate. And what happened was when we had our first winter, essentially this last winter, what we found out when we basically had these machines turning on and off all winter long, we had a repair company from Turner Falls come over and take a look at them. And we found out that the way that they were installed was essentially the general contractor had taken a shortcut where the machines would just turn on and then turn off, right? As if you're flipping a light switch. Whereas there's supposed to be some sort of control on it that has it start up slowly and build up. And essentially the way that they are designed and manufactured is when it gets below a certain ambient temperature outside, I think the actual temperature is about 40 degrees, rather than having the fans turn on and run the entire time that the machine is on, it has a pressure sensor. So the fans kick on until the pressure rises back up and then they kick off until the pressure drops back down and so forth and so on. So we encountered the issue and have spoke to the neighbors about it. The machines during the winter, we realized they were kicking on and off about every 5 minutes, which is dangerous for the machines, especially because they're not turning on slowly. It's not like they're turning on one condenser and then the second condenser and then turning off one and turning off the second. They're banging on and then banging off, which, as I said, is bad for the machines. So we've talked with the repair company and we discussed this during the outreach meeting and at other times with the mayor, the neighbors rather, that we are going to replace the motherboards or the fan controllers essentially, so that those fans then turn on more slowly, more gradually, especially in the winter when they're cycling on and off and on and off because of the low temperature. And that's the other thing is we run air conditioning year round because for our purposes, it's always hot inside and it always needs to be cooled. So even when it's 10 degrees outside, we need to run the air conditioning. And that was when we had the building built and when we were talking to the general contractor, that was part of the thing is we need a low ambient temperature machine. And so the ones we have right now are not designed to run in low ambient temperature, unfortunately, or weren't installed to do so. So the other suggestion that they had is there are different fan blades. Right now we have fan blades that are shaped like squares, essentially. And apparently we can change the fan blades to get sort of a sharp tipped, which can apparently cut down sound about 30% is what the HVAC person told us. So when we discussed it with the neighbors, we mentioned that we were going to change the controllers so that the fans would come on gradually and turn off gradually. And then once we, sort of had that finished, we would discuss it with them eventually and see if it was still an issue. And if it was still an issue, we can go to the fan blades. None of these things are inexpensive, unfortunately. So it's a little bit of a uphill battle to climb, especially as a company that's just started in the last 5 months. So.
How long do you think it will take for the motherboard piece to arrive and be fixed?
Well, now that it's the spring and they were waiting for the ambient temperatures to get up over 40 degrees because apparently that had something to do with how the machines operate and doing the repairs. So it's just a matter of reaching out to them and finding out what the lead time is on the piece and then scheduling the installation. So it's really a manufacturer's sort of contingency here.
Can you give some idea of what they're telling you?
My best guess would be 6 to 8 weeks or something along those lines.
Oh,
Yeah, nothing terrible, but that's just a guess.
okay, thank you. Any other questions from? Okay, Mr. Clerk,
Comments?
comments from those within the system.
Memo from to the zoning board of appeals from Mark Snow, building commissioner, zoning enforcement officer, dated April 3rd, 2024, regarding the special permit application for 15 Arch Street to allow the additional use of marijuana product manufacturing to the existing use of marijuana cultivation at this location. Following comments pertain to what I just said. Board members should be aware that complaints have been filed in the past against the existing cultivation business operation. Those complaints have been filed by neighbors Michelle and Richard Ozdarski, thank you, who live at 19 Arch Street. Complaints filed included the following: noise created from the air handling condenser units located outside the building. 2 photos of the air handling condenser units are included within the memo. Occasional marijuana odors pertaining to the operation of the facility, and a drainage matter. On March 7th, 2024, a letter addressed to Michelle and Richard Ozdarski was sent from Inspector Mark Snow regarding their complaints and the position of this office. Please note a copy of that letter is included with this memo. 2, this office recommends board members address and have business owners resolve the nature and cause of the neighbors' complaints prior to granting a second special permit for this property. Adding additional business operations on this property without addressing current problems may potentially add to and create additional problems. 3, the applicant should be made aware that permits through the inspections department are required for any work or change of use that is regulated by Massachusetts state building, electrical, plumbing, gas, and mechanical codes and regulations. 4, board members may wish to require some type of screening or barrier between the outdoor air condenser units and abutting residential property. 5, board members may wish to impose a condition on the special permit if granted that the board reserves the right to review the special permit, business operations, and conditions of the special permit after a specified period of time of operation. Purposes for this review would be to ensure problems related to the complaints have been addressed and resolved. 6, board members may wish to impose a condition that any change, alteration, or expansion of a use granted by the special permit or a condition of the special permit shall require a review and approval by the appropriate special permit granting authority. 7, any conditions, safeguards, or limitations imposed by the board should be clear and enforceable. Respectfully, Mark A. Snow.
Excuse me.
Yes.
For those watching, Mark Snow is the building inspector, so that's a letter from the building inspector. Okay, thank you.
Should I be reading Mark's entire correspondence that was attached to?
What do you think?
That's quite a long.
Yeah, I thought
I can go fast. I've done
Let's
this
see how
before.
long. Can I just show me the,
It's,
I think you have to read that to the
all
record.
right. Gentlemen, folks, March 7th, 2024. This is a letter from the building commissioner, Mark Snow, to Michelle and Richard Ozdarski. To whom it may concern, this letter is regarding the marijuana cultivation facility located at 15 Arch Street, Greenfield, and ongoing complaints received from 19 Arch Street related to the cultivator facility. The complainant's chief complaint is noise that is created from the air handling condenser units located on the outside of the building. Other concerns voiced include occasional marijuana odors pertaining to the operation of the facility and a draining matter. 15 Arch Street is a factory mill building built about 1900, located in the general industry GI zoning district. Residential properties are neighboring properties to 15 Arch Street. On January 14th, 2021, the Zoning Board of Appeals issued a decision to grant a special permit for property located at 15 Arch Street. Special permit allows a marijuana cultivator business at this location. A copy of the board's decision and all plans referred to in the board's decision were filed with the city clerk on January 22nd, 2021. The special permit was granted with the following 7 conditions. 1, testing of the standby generator shall only be done during business hours, Monday through Friday. 2, the applicant shall conduct required routine and preventative maintenance of the odor mitigation system as per the manufacturer's specification. 3, delivery vehicles shall be limited to box trucks or smaller. Tractor trailer trucks shall be prohibited. 4, the hours of operation shall be 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Sunday. 5, the applicant shall provide screening along the eastern and northern property lines of 19 Arch Street acceptable to the owner of 19 Arch Street. This condition may be waived in writing by the abutter from time to time, in whole or in part. Said written waiver shall become effective upon delivery to the Department of Planning and Development of Greenfield. 6, the applicant shall adhere to the submitted plan and application materials for the cultivation business. And 7, the special permit shall only run with the applicant, 15 Arch Street LLC. During the Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing, Board Chair Maloney inquired on screening for the dumpster and inquired on screening for the direct abutter at 19 Arch Street. Wanseski responded that screening came up at the planning board meeting as well, and that the existing curb/small retaining wall along the property line presents an issue for the installation of a fence or vegetation. Stated the existing hedgerow along the side of the property of 19 Arch Street could be extended. Board member Wozniak inquired on the location of the air exchange handlers and what the noise level is for them. Garth responded that the condensers will be located outside the building while the air exchange units will be located inside the building. Garth also stated that the condensers are residential scale and not loud at all. On May 16th, 2023, this office received a complaint from Michelle Ozdarski, who lives at 19 Arch Street, regarding the indoor grow facility about disruptive noise. Ms. Ozdarski stated there are 4 outside filtration systems that run throughout the day and night. During nighttime, these have become disruptive to their sleep. On July 31st, 2023, this office received a second complaint from Richard Ozdarski, who lives at 19 Arch Street. Mr. Ozdarski voiced 3 issues or complaints. Following up the original complaint and never heard back, voiced concern about long-term health effects, and on occasion, a strong odor of marijuana in the house. On August 23rd, 2023, this inspector, Mark Snow, went to the facility to speak with the business owners, Jay and Dan. I explained the reason for my visit. Both Jay and Dan indicated to me that they had gone through the land use and building permit process, that they had completed everything required, and that they were asked to do. Jay and Dan further indicated that the neighbor had signed off on condition 5 of the special permit to waiver the screening requirement along the eastern and northern property lines of 19 Arch Street. Based on conversations, it is my understanding business owners Jay and Dan would contact the neighbors to see if the matter could be resolved between them. On October 9th, 2023, Mr. Ozdarski sent an email to Mark Snow. The purpose of the email was to follow up on a previous email and conversation. On October 10th, 2023, a complaint was entered into the system. In addition to the noise and odor, a drainage issue was mentioned. A drainage problem flows from the business parking area into the backyard of 19 Arch Street. It is my understanding that a drainage issue was brought to the attention of the contractor during construction that was dealt with and resolved. This office reviewed the complaints, special permit, conditions of the special permit, and section 200-682 of the zoning ordinance and makes the following determination. The marijuana cultivator facility is operating within the parameters of the approved special permit and conditions of the special permit granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals. This office determines condition 5 has been met by the applicant. The Department of Planning and Development received a written email dated December 6th, 2022 by Michelle and Rich Ozdarski that serves as the waiver for not installing a fence along the property line between 15 Arch Street and 19 Arch Street. This office further determines that there is no violation of the special permit or violation of section 200-682. As a result of this determination, this office will not be taking action related to these complaints. If you are aggrieved by this decision, you may file an appeal in accordance with the Greenfield zoning ordinance, section 200-86. The appeal must be filed with the city clerk within 30 days from the date of this notice. You may contact Eric Twarog, Director of Planning and Development at 413-772-1549. Mr. Twarog is the person who will assist you through the appeal process. Sincerely, Mark Snow, Building Commissioner. Ooh, now I see why you volunteered.
No, I read ahead.
I'm in permit.
Continue?
Yeah, did you read Eric's check? You
No,
got it.
no,
Okay.
as I'm saying, yeah,
Okay,
there's
Please,
still some.
please continue. The next thing being read is a memorandum that the zoning board received from Eric Turog, who's the planning director for the city of Greenfield.
Yep. That memo is dated April 4th, 2024 regarding review comments for the proposed marijuana product manufacturing at 15 Arch Street. Recommendations. If the board is inclined to approve the application, then the Department of Planning and Development recommends the following conditions of approval. The applicant shall provide screening and noise mitigation along the eastern and northern property lines of 19 Arch Street acceptable to the owner of 19 Arch Street. Zoning district. Property, 15 Arch Street, Assessors Map 69, Lot 74. Zoning, general industry. The above referenced parcel is located within the general industry GI zoning district. Properties to the north are also zoned as GI. Properties to the west are zoned GI and semi-residential SR. Properties to the south are zoned central commercial, CC, and properties to the east are zoned urban residential, RA. Use. The proposed use marijuana product manufacturer is a use allowed by special permit with site plan review and approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals within the GI district. The applicant was issued a special permit from the ZBA for an indoor marijuana cultivation facility at 15 Arch Street on January 14th, 2021. 15 Arch LLC states that it has the ability to create solventless cannabis resin with its existing facility and equipment. No additions or changes are needed to the exterior or interior of the building, and no additional equipment needs to be installed. Host community agreement. The city of Greenfield, through the mayor's office, has entered into a new host community agreement with 15 Arch Street LLC dated December 13th, 2023. Required buffer. To determine conformance with section 200-7.17 of the zoning ordinance and the Board of Health regulations relative to marijuana establishments. A distance measurement to the nearest K-12 public school was done using the city's geographic information system. No K-12 schools are located within 250 or 500 feet of the subject property. No churches are located within 300 feet of the property. Hours of operation. Current hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Sunday. Noise complaints. The board should be aware that noise complaints have been filed against the existing marijuana cultivation operation at 15 Arch Street. The complaints were filed by the residents of 19 Arch Street, Michelle and Richard Ozdarski, who are direct abutters to 15 Arch Street. The primary noise issue is the noise coming from the air handling condenser units located on the outside of the building.
Nope, more.
Oh, there's more.
Go ahead, please. There's always more. Go ahead.
Memo from the engineering superintendent, no comment or issues with proposed project. Memo from the fire prevention officer, no comment or issues with proposed project. Email from fire prevention officer Dan Smith. Eric, the fire department has no questions or comments about a cold wash procedure done to extract cannabis resin. Most extraction procedures would require FD permits due to using butane or propane in its procedure.
Any comments from the board? Okay. I'm going to open it up to the public, set a couple of ground rules. Michelle and Richard, I'm going to give you a chance to go first, if you're going to speak. I'll then recognize people. Wait, there is a list, but I'm going to recognize them first, and then there's Sarah Rooney would be next.
And up on the screen too.
And of course, people that are on the screen, I'm happy to.
I'm for something else entirely.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, we saw a sign-in sheet, we signed it.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll see how that plays out when you're done. So you don't wish to speak on this application?
No.
Well, let me just address it. There really is no public comment portion of the zoning board meeting like other meetings. So the only way I can recognize you is if you're speaking about one of the two applications that are on here. So
We weren't familiar with the process and we have appeal that we're intending to file for an event or whatever the word is. Our sign can't go where it wants to go.
okay. So that you could get all the information you need by calling Eric, and he'll let you know what you need to do. Okay?
We just wanted to see how the process works.
Okay, fine. I'm glad you're here, but I just cannot recognize you. You're not part of the agenda.
That's
Okay.
totally fine.
Okay, thank you. So back to where I was. So I'll recognize people to speak. I'd like it to be directed at the board. If you have questions of the applicant, that's fine. I want people to be respectful, please. Okay, that you say what you feel, but please be respectful. And please keep it as clear and succinct as you can, while also being able to say what you need to say. So I'm not going to have a clock. I'm not going to time you, but I want to give you a chance to speak. So
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm Michelle Stersky, I live at 19 Rich Street, Greenfield, Mass. So
Thank
I
you.
do have a question of the applicant, just so I can understand.
Okay.
So it sounds like with the process that's happening to create the hash, I have a hard time understanding how there's not gonna be any additional burden put on the air compressor units. And what I mean by that is the noise issue. I have a hard time understanding that process. We're gonna be adding manufacturing, and if I understand, it sounds like we're gonna be increasing the cooling for that one small room, which then in turn puts work onto the compressor units to keep the air conditioners at a happy medium for the heat that's created. So I'm having a hard time understanding that process of.
Okay, thank you for the question.
If I may.
So, will you be the one who's going to answer?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
So the 5-ton unit that controls that room is the taller one that's up by the door. And so right now it controls the room stays at 55 to 60 degrees at a constant temperature. And we would be dropping it down to about 40 degrees for a brief period of time, like an hour to 2 hours. And so it would just be that 5-ton unit, which is one of those like residential whisper quiet ones.
Okay, so my next question is,
Go ahead.
so those 4 dark gray units that are up closer to the loading dock here.
Yep.
Are the actual air conditioners?
So those,
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, no, that's Jack.
Oh.
He's from our business too as well. Yeah, so there's the 10-ton units, the 4 ones that are banging right now.
Yeah.
And then the ones higher up are for the other rooms. So the ones hanging off the wall are the mini splits that control the ones that are not sort of, big rooms. But there's 2, what are the ones in the bedroom there?
Those are 3 tons.
3 tons. So there's 2 3-ton units. All one's a 5-ton unit. Those are the,
Fourth one that's a heater.
and the 4th one that's a heater.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that are up by the door.
So the 4 air compressor units then work to keep those 4 air conditioning units happy as a medium temperature wise.
Right, so those 4 10-ton units are for the grow rooms where all the lights are. So when those lights are on, it without any air conditioning, the rooms would be like, what, 120 or something?
Yeah, I mean, if
Get rid of that.
you want, maybe this would help you understand, there's no heat load in the room that we would be manufacturing, where there's a tremendous heat load in the cultivation rooms that are controlled by the 4 down near your house. So we're actually just cooling the room it just cools really quick and quiet. It's like a smaller, more sophisticated unit that doesn't make the same noise of the ones down by the street.
Yeah, the
And they're fighting the heat load from the lights, so that's why they're always working when the lights are on.
the rooms that have the 2 10-ton units in each room are 1,300 square feet. But the dry room is where we would be doing the with the 510 unit is what, like 10 by 20?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a much smaller room.
I still can't wrap my head around it, but.
So maybe I can help you to just bring it to focus. So the applicant, you're representing to us and to your neighbor.
Yeah.
That this additional use on the property is not going to change the demand on the systems, the HVAC systems, so that they will become more noisy.
Right.
And you're representing that to be the case.
So, I mean, the thing is we're going to increase the demand on that 510 unit like this for like an hour, once a month. So but I would say not to any significant degree where it would be even noticeable to anyone unless they had a microphone.
So when the air conditioning does go on, though, it makes the noise that we associate with an air conditioner, not the clanging noise that has been.
Right. Those are the two compressor 10-ton units that are for the flower rooms, and their load and their activity and their sort of life cycle will not change at all based on this process.
The ones that are near now.
The ones that are down at the bottom of the street.
Is that helpful?
Yes. that does
Okay.
sound
Is there anything else you'd like to say about?
Sorry.
I'd like to start when when they told us about the barrier. They told us about the barrier being put up. They told us there was gonna be a chain link fence. So we didn't want to feel like we were gonna be in a prison as our next door neighbor. So that's why we signed off on no fence. Then last spring, as I was working in my own backyard, I told my wife, because I was unemployed at the time, working days, I was working out, painting, doing stuff, projects in my own backyard. I said, I smell marijuana. She goes, well, they probably have the door. And then when we're working later, this is last April, it smelled marijuana. So that's when we initially wanted to put our first thing in last May, that was part of the thing, we could smell pot. All the time, we didn't want to smell pot in our own backyard. We had 2 young boys. And we were told, we sent the request to them. They never responded back to us. To go on with the driveway, we were told in the winter, not this winter, but the winter before, that Connolly, who did their driveway, would be fixing the driveway in the spring. They did a temporary fix by putting a concrete thing where the water was running down into our yard. We have a sump pump, we have to pay to put a sump pump in because of the town. So now we have, the water from their driveway with also, how when they do construction they have like these straw in a bag.
Yeah.
They put that there, which is still there. And last July, when we had that record flooding, we had massive rain coming from there into our yard. We also had the problem of last winter with them snow plowing Connolly, which is their thing, into our yard. They said they would handle it. They destroyed one of our cones that we had over a plant and never offered anything to replace that. Connolly still this winter has snow plowed, including last week with all that slush that we had. When I came home from work, my boys and I were shoveling our sidewalk and the driveway we rent from. We were going in the house, Connolly comes up, plows right over my wife's plants. The 2 trees that we put up to try to block the light from the 2 lights at the top. And I got kind of an attitude from the snowplow driver. So that's the driveway. And then of course, I'm gonna try to go back to last year. We have a back porch that we used to use until last year as a bedroom in the summer. It's a screened-in porch. We cannot use it anymore because of the constant noise. So that only means now we have to get an air conditioner, put in a bedroom. So now in the summer, we have 4 people sleeping in our 1 bedroom so that we can actually sleep for our health. And we had to keep the air conditioning on until October because we can open the windows, but the noise from their compressors, which still go off at night now. And so that makes our east side of our windows we cannot use to cool our house. And I believe on our July letter to Mark Snow or to the committee, we offered, and we still today offer, all of you to come into our house to hear what we have to hear every day, every night. It's not enjoyable. We cannot go out, I mean, we go out in our backyard, we have to listen to the sound of their compressors going all day long in our backyard. We can't do any entertaining or have a cookout. We have a cookout, but you can't talk to anybody because the noise is just unbearable. And it's like you don't even want to be home because it's just uncomfortable. You hear the thing going. I work a job which I have to go to bed at 8 o'clock at night to get up to go to work. Those things, you hear them going off. We had to this winter to make it somewhat bearable. We have to leave a radio on in our bedroom and the boys' bedroom so that we can sleep. We have insulated curtains. We bought another set of insulating curtains to block the noise, and we still hear the stuff. And the only way to stop it is to have a radio on, and you can still hear it over that.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I was at the site today and I heard the fans going. Is that the noise you're talking about?
Yes.
So even if the clanking was repaired, the noise,
Those run all day.
yeah, but it's the normal noise of the units.
Yes. So, when I was talking with, it might have been Eric. How do I put this in words? It's like where the air compressor units are, to how the building is shaped, to where our second floor bedrooms are. That noise travels. And the clanking happens below 40 degrees. So that's annoying of in itself. And then being nice about the annoying piece because it's worse than that. But when the fan, so when it's above 40 degrees, yes, you can still hear that constant humming, whatever you want to call it. You can hear them start up. The only other way, this is gonna sound weird and without anybody else kind of going through this, when it's dead quiet now, I'm like, what's wrong? Because that noise is so embedded in my head that I feel like something's gonna happen because it's quiet. And when it is quiet, it's only for a short period of time. And that clanking noise, when it's going, if sometimes the units are not in sync, so you'll have one at the top start, and then I can hear the switch turn on, I can hear it starting up, and then I hear the clank of the next one, and they get in an off cycle. So the time between different units is about 15 to 30 seconds. And there was one day I was home in October, it was literally doing that from like 6:30 in the morning till about 9 in the morning. So 3 hours straight, I was listening to that. And that was enough to drive me bonkers.
Okay, thank you.
So
We've got the smell, the driveway running water, the snow plowing, and the noise.
Yeah.
Okay, any other?
I mean, we did reach out to Jay the first time with the first the first season. He claimed he addressed it with Conley, but I am not sure if that ever came to fruition.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
I did. The plants that they're talking about are the ones that grow up and over the curb and come into the driveway. So I asked Conley to be careful of them.
No,
as he
we got
goes up.
plants. They actually plow into our yard.
I promise you that we'll ask the applicant some questions about it. Okay, what's that?
Nope, no.
Go ahead.
Ryan Whitney, Greenfield, Massachusetts.
You speak up because the mic's have to catch you.
Chat Street, Greenfield, Massachusetts. We live on the other side, so sometimes that might be my fault on my deck.
There you go.
I'm very for this business. I love that you guys are clean and stuff like that. It's awesome, but you say you're like this clean company and then, you know, I don't know if it's at fault of you guys or us, but you're looking at paving a place. When they pulled that permit, you're saying you get drainage. We have a river going through, so I think it's like on the zoning board or the planning board, like I think when we start paving things in our area and changing waterways and stuff like that, something that has to be overlooked a little bit more, maybe the conservation commission should be, like, I'm not attacking this business at all, I'm fine with them. Not gonna cause any more problems with the new thing, so, but the process that this happened through is what we get Jim's tree service, why we get these people, like, maybe if the process wasn't rushed every time for us, like in the public hearings and all these things where times that like, so we knew, like, we were the only other ones at the meeting in the middle of a snowstorm when this thing came, and we had to walk there, it was so bad. And they kept the meeting going.
Are you in a butter that gets
Yeah,
noticed?
we're on the back side of that. Well, we don't get noise, but.
Do you know, did you get notice of, are you
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
umbrella
Yeah,
of
we
notice?
touched the back parking lot, but
Thank you, Stephanie. I'll
But it's
recognize you in a
just in
second.
our area, totally, I think the projects, when they're being done, the processes need to be fully, properly done.
Okay,
Because it's causing a serious problem, like the water. No more pavement in our area, please.
Yeah, I address.
Without asking the conservation, because that's the process that's supposed to happen.
Yeah. So we didn't pave anything. We repaved the driveway that was already paved.
No.
And our driveway is crushed. Yes, our parking lot.
he's responding. Thank you. I appreciate what you said.
Is crushed gravel.
I know. And
But it's, I think the meeting that he was talking about, that was the Cannabis Control Commission. And the way we had to do it, we had to send certified mail out 2 weeks ahead of time for the meeting. And so it was one of those, the freak snowstorm was terrible. I drove an hour and a half to get there, yeah.
You guys, this process is fine, you did.
But thank you, yeah, thank you for coming tonight.
okay, so what I'm hearing is that we might be able to do better with things like drainage, especially in that
On
neighborhood.
you guys, not on their end, they
I
did
said-
everything they were told.
I said sweet. Us. Stephanie, do you have something to say?
Yeah, Stephanie Duclos, 160. I do have a concern that was a gravelled surface that actually absorbed some of the water. Some of that runoff is now blocking the sewer grates, which
Right down into our.
right. And then creates a big puddle, so any of the runoff that's coming from there is just blocking that one sewer grate underneath the arch. And then also creates other problems on the opposite side of the street as well, so. I feel, I've heard the noise, it is. I would literally, I'm glad I hear the trains going by. Because when I walked on the other side of that bridge, I can't listen to my dog go off for long periods of time. If I had to look at that, I don't know how you've done.
Stephanie, when you're describing the noise, are you talking about the clanking noise? Or are you talking about the general,
Goes up and
the
down.
general
the
the general operations of the?
So I mean, if
And you,
if you folks could put up some sort of noise barrier, maybe to satisfy them, I mean, we don't get it as much on the opposite side, we deal with other things on our side. But
okay, so this isn't affecting your property.
Nothing, but
the water is, any
I understand,
drainage
but
or
the
any of
noise, the
water
noise
comes
is
up.
not affecting
The
your property.
noise, we don't hear it, the train does that.
Thank you. Okay, who up here? Deborah?
Yes, thank
Please,
you.
Your name and your address, please.
My name is Deborah Rossman. I own the property at 16 Arch Street, directly across from this facility. I strongly object to their application to expand their facility. When they originally started this, they promised us that this would be only a marijuana cultivation center. They said, don't worry about it. That's all we're going to do. They've lied. Now they're going into something else. They presented themselves as this friendly neighborhood business. We're all for the neighborhood. We want to preserve the neighborhood. We care about our neighbors. They don't care about the neighbors. They're out for themselves. They're out to make a profit. They got in this building on the cheap, all right? And they do not maintain that building. They have not done anything that they promised to do. They said they would be a security system. At the original hearing, they said they were going to have a gate and a fence, and don't worry about security, that gate will be closed. The gate is there for show. They never use the gate. The gate is always unlocked. It does not go across the driveway. There's no security whatsoever. They claim that they have security cameras. Well, if their security cameras are so great, then how did the front of their building get graffitied up? They promised that they would improve the neighborhood, that this would be a facility that they are going to take and make the neighborhood look good. It looks just as bad, if not worse, than it was before, with graffiti all over the front of it. The noise, I live across the street, similar to the neighbors abutting them. Those fans go on and off, and yes, I have timed them, and they do go off at times every 10 to 15 seconds. I as well have not been able to use the front part of my house because the front part of my house faces their facility. So the two front rooms, both the downstairs and the upstairs, are unusable to me. I hear these fans going on and off all hours of the day and night. They go off every 10 to 15 seconds. They're loud, they're disruptive, and it's all the time. I have complained, they don't respond. I am sandwiched between two marijuana facilities. The other facility directly behind me in my backyard that's over on Wells Street, so I'm right in the middle of it. They're reasonable to deal with. I can talk to them. They're there for the neighbors. They try to do things for the neighbors. This place doesn't. They make promises and they don't adhere to them. The noise that's coming from this, they can't even control the system the way it is to allow them to expand the facility. If they can't even handle it the way it is, why are we letting them grow and continuing to do, more if they can't even handle the noise the way it is? The trucks, during the original hearing, they promised that they would only be small trucks and they would only come and go every so often. There's trucks that come and go all hours of the day and night, and they're not necessarily small trucks. There's been some large, almost 18-wheel trucks sometimes get parked on the side of the road and stay there idling for several hours. They have to use my driveway to pull their truck in to back up into this facility to make deliveries. And that happens again, all hours of the day and night. Again, this is something that they promised wouldn't happen. There was an illegal tenant at one point living in the back part of this building. I can't prove whether they're still living there, but I will tell you that I see Amazon trucks go in and out of there all the time. Delivering small packages would not be appropriate for a business. It almost looks like they're personal things that are being delivered. Can't make a judgment there, but it does seem a little bit strange. This facility, of all the marijuana facilities in Greenfield, this is the only one that's in a residential neighborhood. All the others, the one by the golf course, the Cheech and Chong, the one that's being proposed up by the fairgrounds, the one that's in Karen's dance studio, the one that's on the border of Gill and Greenfield, those are all not in residential neighborhoods. This is a residential neighborhood. There are children living here. There are families living here. This company has repeatedly made promises and they have fallen short of that. All right, they're not acting in good faith. I have no trust and good faith belief that they're going to fix the problem that they have now, and they are asking to expand more. And they're doing this for their own profit. They're not doing this to help the town. They're not doing this to help the neighborhood. They have no business expanding when they can't even control the way it is now. And like I said, half of my house is unusable. I'm not happy with it. For them to say they've spoken to the neighbors, they are aware that I'm not happy with what's going on. I'm not happy with the noise. And I did not lodge a formal complaint, but I have tried to contact the owners and they've been unresponsive. They say they reached out to the neighbors. Nobody's ever reached out to me. So I strongly object to this application, and I hope that the board seriously considers it and does not grant it because they've made promises that, oh, they're only going to be this small company and this is all they're going to do. What's going to be next? How much more demand is there going to be? How many more trucks are there going to be in and out to expand their business? Like, I do not agree with it, and they have not operated in good faith. I don't think that they are running their business the way they should. They have not been there for the neighbors. We've already seen how they completely disregard the neighbors at 19 Arch Street with their promises and what they've done. And they have no, total disregard of the neighbors living in the area. And I strongly object to it. And I hope that the board considers that there's already complaints. And why are we letting them expand their business when they can't handle it the way it is?
Thank you.
Sure.
Sure, go ahead.
Just so the board knows, we've given videotapes of the vandals to Detective Carrington with the Greenfield Police. We've worked with him on several occasions now. The 18-wheelers, we did have a couple show up, and it was probably our fault that we didn't tell people ahead of time, please no 18-wheelers. Anytime that did happen, we let those companies know that that was not okay. We have specific instructions for most of the companies, and if not all the companies we deal with now, where box trucks are smaller, are only allowed. And as to the gate, Captain Smith asked us to keep it open because it's technically Grove Street. So if fire trucks ever need to get up there to access other properties, having the gates closed would be a big issue.
Are the gates closed at night?
No, that's for snowplow reasons and for fire access reasons.
Right-hand corner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, before I get to you, anybody else in the audience? Yes, ma'am.
I am the one that sent you the video. I don't know if everybody had a chance.
Excuse me, I don't mean to be rude.
Yes.
Could you state your,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm Jenny DeSorga and I live at 43 Silvercrest Lane.
and you are the mayor.
I'm the mayor.
I won't marry.
Ian. And I actually ran into this as I was going around door knocking. And I feel my heart goes out to the families here. I wish that for every business in town that they would be able to thrive and do well. I honestly do. But their life is so different than what it was before. And it's a family with children. The noise, honestly, I sent you the video. It was a Sunday that I went by. It would drive me crazy. It's life altering for the family and the people across the street. If I had to listen to that all day, I would go crazy. The noise is one thing. They run the air conditioner. I think their air conditioning bills were like 4 times what they were. That's what they told me when I went by. And also the increased expense with the running of the sump pump from what I heard just that tonight. But I've even talked to Mark Snow about it. I thought, yep, there's not a violation of the special permit, but there was a violation, in my opinion, at the beginning. When we said that these are regular condensers and that they weren't going to make any noise. And I was on the planning board for 6 years. And I looked at this place and I felt like I was going to cry. It's one driveway width away from the other person's, from the next person. And I don't know what the remedy would have been. The remedy would have been to put the large noise making things on the other side of the street. And I don't know. I hate to, I think now, would I believe that the next thing is not going to make more noise than the last thing? I don't know. And I don't know what you're going to do with it. But I think I just wanted to say out loud that I am extremely saddened by what has happened to the families on the street. And I am pro the businesses coming in, but I just wanted to affirm that.
Mayor, do you have a recommendation? What you think should be done?
Condensers should be moved to the other side of the railroad. I don't know if that's possible, but we own both sides of it. And I think we did everything. We do everything. When we're looking at things, there were 2 sides that could have been on. You own both sides of that building. I don't know how far apart it is, but that's and that's an extraordinarily expensive recommendation. And probably business altering. But honestly, I walked by there then, and I've gone again, and I don't know what the answer is to that. But their lives have changed, so the people there. You, as members of the zoning board, I'm sure you did your best, but you didn't know because it said it made no noise. So I'm gonna leave that to you and may you all be solvent.
Thank you. Oh, you can't see, a Mayo? What, it's probably a Mayo, right? What's your name, ma'am? She's on.
You know, mute.
You did for a second.
Hi. So,
Hi.
yes, Ann Mayo of
Thank
Ann
you,
and
Ann.
Doug Mayo, 143 Wells Street. We apparently are the lucky neighbors in that we really haven't been bothered or heard anything, but I definitely have walked closer to the end of the Ozdarski's driveway, and yes, those things are definitely loud. So, I feel sympathy for the neighbors. I would have, my husband and I would have been in favor of, it sounded like it wasn't going to really increase the noise, et cetera, this additional business operation. But I think I have to agree with what the neighbors have said so far and what Mayor Ginny said that there already is an issue with the noise. And so I think the zoning board is not going to have an easy task with this. So that's our 2 cents.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything? Anyone else here want to speak? If you. Yes, please say your name.
My name is Zachary Zarsky, and I'm a resident at 19 Arch Street.
Yep.
I'm a sophomore at Greenfield High School,
Mhm.
and I do sports. So when I come home from practice, I'm tired, and when I want to go to bed, I have to listen to the sound of those condensers running. And it's just constant, and I just have a hard time trying to fall asleep.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Yeah, I just had a couple more comments I just wanted to add.
Okay, you've had your chance to speak, so please keep it as brief as you can. Thank you.
So I just wanted to add, again, the smell, I didn't touch upon that, but yes, there definitely is a noticeable odor of marijuana that is sometimes quite strong. And again, they promised that that wouldn't happen. And the noise level from my house, it is to the point where I have to have air conditioning running all the time during the summer. Can't open your windows because it's even worse. With the windows shut, you can hear them going on and off all hours of the day and night. And those are just a couple things that I didn't get to mention, but just to kind of add to what I already said.
Thank you.
Yep.
I got a question for John.
Please.
John, how much land do you own between your building and the railroad?
So we don't own any land, we're tenants.
You're right up.
But when we were looking at the original, most of the building actually overhangs the railroad property. I believe that there's either an encroachment or an easement for the building to be where it is. But we looked at that as a solution, and there was less than 5 feet at the widest part.
It was 18 inch.
18 inches.
Yeah.
Because it's at an angle. The building goes back at an angle, so near the street where that where all the broken glass and all the old stuff used to be, there's a little bit of a sliver, and then as it goes back, the building gets closer and closer and closer to the railroad property until at some point it encroaches and overlaps.
I believe that back corner actually has an easement on the railroad property. Because in the 1800s, when it was built, the train tracks were just all around that building so that it could be used with the tracks.
Right.
So the last I read, a train track was 66 feet wide. So if you measure from the center of the track to the building, you get 33 feet, right? So I believe that's to the building wall, more or less. So that grassy area isn't ours at all.
Right, we even were looking into putting some of the mini splits and hanging them, the ones that hang off the wall, and hanging them on the back, and we determined that even those would be encroaching. The other consideration, we thought about putting them on the roof, and the structural engineer said that the roof couldn't support it just because of age and the way that it was constructed. And then the length of the lines, essentially. The reason they were placed where they are is for the functionality of the machines. If we had to put them up on the other side of the property, you would have 400 to 500 feet of copper lines running from the condenser unit outside to the air handler inside, which would essentially make it, work at maybe like 10% efficiency or whatever it was there. They've actual, their own engineering.
So the evaporators are just inside the wall from the condensers.
So that end of the building by the road are where the two rooms are. So if you're looking at the building from Arch Street, on the second floor, on the left side and the right side, there's two rooms. And those 4 units right along the side there go directly in. They run through the lines run through the basement and up into those rooms.
But again, the evaporators are on the same wall as the condensers. Or they're in the middle of the building, they're in the middle of the room, where are the evaporators that are
They hang from the ceiling.
in the middle of the room, I would assume?
They're sort of like on the adjacent corners from each other.
And did you approach the railroad for easement like you're doing us? Did you say, can we put something here?
So like pour a huge foundation over
Well,
there.
for the condenser, did you talk to them about it at all?
We did not.
Just curious. Thank you. Mr. Darsky's got a question.
Yes, sir.
I just have a statement. My parents bought that house back in the 50s. So my parents dealt with Miller's Falls School, Greenfield Community College, J.H. Smith. We've never had as much difficulty as dealing with what we're dealing with right now over the years that I have lived there and they live.
So when you use the word difficulty, do you mean the things that you said about the smell and the
Just trying to
noise
get
or?
response with like they said they talked to us. So when we found out about the condensers that they were changing the blades without the meeting. Was it?
The special
The
meeting they had.
special meeting.
Their community engagement meeting
Was
they
that
had.
one of the hotel?
Yeah.
Yes, the part of the Cannabis Control Commission.
They never contacted. They told us, if you have an issue with us, contact us. As I said, we contacted them in last May. Never response. And so, we contacted through the city.
So what would be the perfect communication that you would want to have with them?
Honestly, when you reach out to a business owner, no matter who they are, a reasonable amount of expectation to return a phone call and or an email. There's a couple of times when I reached out to John, voicemail was full. I said something to him verbally when he was out in the driveway one day. Oh, must be my account's full. I need to delete some messages. I called, maybe got back a couple of weeks later. Voicemail box was still full. You email a business owner, and if you're complaining about your business, and there's no response, what kind of a business does that show? I am not against marijuana, however, I am against this business.
Quite a while. They
So
filed-
feel,
There's a difference there.
the mayor isn't happy with it.
so if you had the perfect communication with them, would that change how you're approaching the things that you're talking about?
I think we might have been able to solve some of this before now. We're talking about next month, a year.
Yeah.
If there is more back and flow communication, I might not be as grumpy or upset.
So that would be helpful if that changed?
It would help.
It would help.
Yeah.
It wouldn't solve the noise problem. It'd solve, you feel like you can't. We have really one room in our house that you can barely hear the noise.
Okay, so the noise is the big, okay.
Can I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
So the marijuana smell, I have definitely, it seems like when they are leaving, it definitely is a stronger smell, or when I see them that they're leaving. I am not sure if it's sucking the air back in when they're leaving, but there's definitely a smell when they leave the building. There is times though, when I come home at lunch and I smell it. It's, and there was one time in the summer, I swear her house, the inside of her house smelled like weed for a couple days straight, and it just would not. We like to have our windows open. Well, you can't have your windows open when you smell pot all the time.
Okay.
But thank you.
You're welcome. Deborah,
Yes.
if the communication was improved or different, how would that affect your feelings about this special permit application?
I don't really have a good faith belief that they're going to adhere to it. The noise is unbearable, and I don't see, and the smell is unbearable. And I have a house that, should I want to sell it, nobody's going to buy it. I can't sell my property. It's unbearable to live here. So and they have been uncommunicative. They don't respond to emails. They don't respond to phone calls. They're not cooperative. They've been like this since the beginning. So I don't have a good faith belief that they're,
Security fence.
like their security fence isn't closed. They come up with excuses. You yourself asked, why isn't it closed at night? They gave the excuse, the fire department, the snow plowing. Well, why is it like that in the spring, summer, and fall? It's, I don't feel like they're an honest, trustworthy company, and I hate to put it that way, but so far all of their actions and everything that they've done have proven that that's their business model. And once again, they're in a residential neighborhood. The noise, the smell is not appropriate, and they're asking to expand on that. Of course, there's going to be more noise and there's going to be more smell, and they have no plan for how that's going to improve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think it's a little funny how perspectives are different. I drive up and down the driveway every single day, past the Osadarskis. I've talked to Michelle in the driveway multiple times. As to their smelling in April, we didn't have any plants in the building in April last year. We weren't allowed to have plants in the building until May of last year. They said that there was a rivulet when the parking lot was graded. There was a soft area where it was condensed gravel, and the water that runs down the hill took a shortcut into their backyard. We put a curbstone there. The water ran down the driveway. I asked the Ostarskis, are you getting any water? They said no. When the issue of the fan came up, I talked to Michelle in the driveway again. I told her about the fans, the controllers. She seemed to understand that was what we were going to do. I told her about the fan blades as a potential solution. She seemed to be okay with that. I was actually surprised when I really received Mark Snow's letter, because I had no idea that they were making all these complaints to the city. They did send an email. The email came the day that Mark Snow showed up at the door to talk to me and Dan. So it seemed as though my response to Mr. Odarsky was, apparently you filed a noise complaint to me. I'm talking to Mark Snow at the door right now. It seemed like it was a done deal. I didn't feel like I needed to respond to that specific email, and that's probably the only one. If I look through my records, that might be the one or only one of them. I am available. I gave Michelle my cell phone number. She has my cell phone number if she wants to call me. I use Google Voice, so I actually don't have a mailbox that can fill up. I've been able to get voicemails for the last 10 or 12 years without any issue. As to Deborah, I don't think I've ever had a communication with or from Deborah. I did reach out to her at the very beginning when we first filled out our community outreach meeting. I sent her a specific invitation to the outreach meeting, the original one before the original special permit, because she was not listed on the abutters list and because she was directly across the street. I'm sorry that she feels like she can't communicate with me, but like I said, I drive up and down that driveway every single day. I check the mailbox twice a day, in the morning and evening. And like she said, she is across the street. We have tried to be good neighbors. We are operating, obviously, a business that a lot of people complain about. And people, I think, have strong feelings about. As to the noise, as I said, we think it's an issue. We know it's an issue. We are addressing the issue, or we are trying to address the issue. We started this business in October. It cost us a ton of money to get this thing built through all of the stages of state approval, city approval, all the delays in the construction pushback from the pandemic. We are a tier 1 cultivator, which is the smallest cultivation facility license you can have in Massachusetts, and that allows you up to 5,000 square feet of canopy. We currently have less than about 2,000 square feet of canopy. We're at 40% operational volume of the smallest license you can have in Massachusetts. We are essentially a micro business. The three of us own the business. We are all Massachusetts residents. We all live in town. We funded this thing with money from our friends and from our families. And we are just trying to run a small business. I have tried to communicate with the Ostarskis, and it pains me to hear them besmirch my reputation in such a way. I've tried to be communicative with them, and I've tried to address every single issue. When we diverted the water out of their backyard, I thought it was a done deal because I never heard anything else about it. When the plow came up and hit the plants that are overhanging into our driveway and took the tent or the little net that they had off of their plant and ripped it a little bit, I spoke to the plow driver and asked him to be more careful with the plants that are overhanging onto the driveway. And I thought that was the end of it because I never heard anything else about it. When I got the letter from Mark Snow, it was the very first time that I'd ever heard anything about odor. And I just wanted to make sure that the board understood my perspective before making any deliberations.
Are there any things that you could say to the board that you could propose as mitigating, as things to mitigate the concerns, which seem to be smell, the running water?
So we've already replaced our original filters. We had just regular, I can't remember what the filtration numbers are, but we replaced them with carbon filters, which pull more. And that was something we did of our own volition. Like I said, I haven't heard any complaints about smell to date from anyone. We also have fans that run inside each of the rooms where we process. We have one that's about 6 feet tall, and it pulls air through a carbon filter to filter the air for ourselves and to reduce smell as well. We have sealed rooms that are all environmentally sealed. There's no air exchange between the outside and the inside for any of our production facility rooms. We've addressed the issue with the HVAC repair about the fan in terms of replacing the board. What was happening before was it's a 2-stage compressor. So over the winter, it was happening where it was turned on, both compressors would turn on simultaneously. And therefore it wasn't staggering like it's supposed to, where one compressor can turn on if the load is lighter or something like that. Which is it's, I guess, a 2-stage. When it was installed, they hot wired it. So it was just either on or off, full on or full off. So we had that repaired over the winter. We spent about $25,000 already on HVAC repairs because of the installation of it. The repairs that we're offering to make for the Ostarskis' benefit are another probably $20,000 to $25,000 worth of repairs. When we went through this special permit process, we did, because we weren't sure if they wanted a fence or not, I sent them an email, and a year and a half went by. And we never heard anything until we actually needed our certificate of occupancy. And I had to chase them down and be like, hand them a document that said, if you don't want the fence, sign this. If you do want the fence, sign this, please. Just something we need to get this business going. I had a fence quoted because we had a fence contractor there to install the fence out. So he could have just extended it down the driveway. But unfortunately, we couldn't get any response from them about whether they wanted it or. Yeah, I mean, we as far in my opinion, and as far as I'm concerned, we are trying, and we can look into other solutions, but the ones that will have significant impact are probably ones that'll cost us so much money that we won't be in business anymore, and then whatever by right general industrial business who wants to manufacture rocket fuel can move in next door.
Anybody else from your business want to say anything? Yes.
I feel like I definitely hear the concern. Questions are towards, I feel that both parties have been hurt by the concern. Both parties have been hurt by the town because they're running under the way they're supposed to be running, that they said they have a budget. So who's at fault here? Why are these two people fighting against each other instead of the town making a solution that approved this permit? Because I don't see that these guys are liable to move their unit. I think the town would have to be liable for approving something that isn't good for our. I mean, this is a struggling business. You guys are mad at a struggling business. And, you know, it's like, those are the guys. That's it. Those are the guys that did it. You both know.
Okay, thank you. I think unless somebody, Deborah or Ann, you're all set? All right, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the meeting. I'm just going to share a thought with the board. I can say how I feel. I don't feel that Solomon feeling of knowing exactly how to do this at this point. And a lot of it seems to be misunderstandings between the neighbors and the business by their own position of all the parties. Next month, we're going to hear the appeal of the first of the building inspector's letter. You know, I wonder if time would be a factor for these folks to try to come up with something among themselves that might be reasonably presented to the board rather than the board split the baby at this point. I mean, if we say, honestly, if we say no to the abutters that, you know, we feel, besides the clanking noise, that the air conditioning noise is fine and this, that, and the other thing, then it seems that there is a quality of life change that's occurred that we have to take into consideration. And if we force the business to go too far in mitigating the noise, then the business is going to go out of business. And I think we have a duty to find, it came to us for a special permit, we granted a special permit already. This is an extension, that's a different story. But I feel like if the underlying issues could be resolved, then we would know whether or not to grant with what type of conditions this second request for a special permit. I mean, if they don't work it out, we're going to be forced to have to do something. But somebody's not going to be happy with what we do. Whereas if we give people another 30 days, we have time, right?
Correct,
Eric?
Mr. Chairman, yes.
We have time to let the parties try to figure it out and they can come back. I could do two things. We could keep the public hearing open until the next meeting. And next meeting, we'll hear the appeal. So we'll have both things before us that could be merged together. So how does that feel for the board?
In the meantime, they could see about the motherboards, they could see about the fan blades, and over some fencing for 19 Arch Street.
And maybe they could build some trust.
Communication.
But if that can't happen by the time we come next time, then
It's just a matter of
we're gonna, well, I'm,
$100,000.
what the board is, well, I hear what you're saying, but when we granted the special permit, we granted it in a context of protecting the character of the residential
I
neighborhood.
understand.
So it was,
In the
it was
industrial.
let me finish. It was represented that there wouldn't be a smell problem. I have a feeling that could be corrected. The drainage problem, I'm assuming there'll be something that you can bring to let us know more specifically how that's corrected. The snowplow can be easily corrected. As far as my reading of the special permit is that the neighbors have a right from time to time to ask for a screening. So if that's what they want, even though they waived it in the first instance, I think that now that things are different, they could ask for it again. So that's already built into the first special permit. The only question is really the noise and was there something in the first hearing where a representation was made that the board relied on not setting a condition I'm not even sure that's the point. The point is that I don't think we knew where those condensers were going to go in relation to the property. And so it wasn't, I guess we all assumed that you'd be able to put the condensers anywhere you wanted, and therefore they would be further up and away from this property, so that I expected an odor complaint because I was wondering whether that would be perfect, but I did not expect a noise complaint. So, can we make a motion? Would people be inclined to continue this for 30 days and we'll hear from everybody again, or what would you like?
I would like to have it go another 30 days. There's, I would like to have an understanding of, what the impact of, the lead time for those blades, what the impact is, the cost, how that affects them. Maybe an opportunity for some people to have some conversations between the property owners and the business to see if they can work some things out on their own now that both sides understand the other's perspective. Maybe we can reach a better place. I guess I want to make sure everybody here understands, when people come before us with applications, we do our best to work with the information that we're provided. I'm not an expert on condensers. There's lots of things that I just don't know. But we rely on the information we're given, and we do our best to try and address everyone's concerns when they come before us. So I guess I want to make sure that everybody, we're not just saying, oh, sure, here you go, you're all set. There were a number of questions asked about the noise location, so we did our due diligence as best we could at the time. I guess I want to make sure everybody understands that.
We as board members, so the public understands and you all understand, rely on the experts around us to tell us and what is going on more specifically. And then we rely on people from the community to come to these meetings. And when there's a public hearing, to let us know what your concerns are, because we have a right to impose conditions on a special permit. That's the whole point. The reason something is a special permit rather than allowed by right is ostensibly to allow the public to participate in the decision. So in any event, anybody else? So
do we have any sort of guidelines on noise in the town? Do we have it?
We don't have a noise ordinance.
There's nothing that says decibel levels or distances or anything like that.
Every time it's brought up, it makes a lot of noise among the citizens.
There is a section in the zoning ordinance 200-6.8 performance standards. One section is noise, very specific about each district and being able to hear the noise from a certain distance away at the property line. So it is in the zoning ordinance, not decibel level readings, but other language to deal with noise.
Okay, give us some kind of guidance. So if the split systems and the smaller ones up the hill are not really a problem, is there any way we could say, take a reading of those units, what the decibel output is in those units, and try and match that with your existing units, or give them something to go on? I mean, we're not really helping them. I think we're supposed to provide some kind of guidance. I understand right now, from what I understand, they're complying with their permit, so they're not doing anything wrong. But we have to deal with the issue of the neighbors. We have changed the quality, but shouldn't we help them? Say, if you can meet this level,
Are we helping?
the owner is trying to meet the issues of the complaint. So if you can meet this level of noise that you have here, over here, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have the conversation that we had during the original meeting, and here it says the condensers are residential scale and not loud at all. So we're trying to work out.
Misrepresentation.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm not even necessarily.
But it was.
It's misrepresentation. So there's no description of what not loud at all means. And we definitely had a different opinion as to what that means. And are they no longer residential scale?
That was the project engineer. So I think his definition of residential, I mean, 10 ton is a very small unit.
That's not residential. Typical residential is 3 tons. House. A big house is 4. That's a commercial unit, without a doubt.
So I think you guys have to do some homework and within some reasonable parameters, figure out a way of solving these problems.
Yeah, I was thinking of screening right around the units, but yours said your bedroom's on the 2nd floor.
But
That wouldn't help.
I don't feel like it's
Drive it up.
really, I don't feel like it's our responsibility to tell you what to do. I think you have to, what's that?
I agree with that.
So I think you should infer that we're reasonable people and that our duty is to act in a reasonable manner. and to use good judgment. So instead of suggesting to you what to do, which would really in a way be interfering with your business, we would rather that you and the neighbors figure out a way, and I would encourage the neighbors to sit at least once with the owners, please, and listen to what they have to say, and you, the owners, please listen to what they have to say and see if you can come up with something that's workable. So that by the time the next meeting occurs, maybe there are some things we have to decide, but it won't be what's in front of us now. So those are your marching orders. Any objection from the owners?
None at all. That's kind of the direction I thought we were already moving.
Okay with that? You understand what I'm saying? And so I'm hoping that you will try to move in some direction. Yes, sir.
I think we tried to respond to all. Because with the condensers, he gave an answer tonight that said 6 weeks, he told us next fall. So, see, we're always hearing, and that was at the meeting. He said that.
Well, now we're gonna go forward. We're gonna meet again.
I know.
We're out in the public. This is all gonna come out in the public. We're all gonna hear it because we've all heard it tonight, what the march orders are. Okay, may I hear a motion to continue this until the next meeting will be, if you're all able to attend, is it May?
It's May 16th.
May 16th. I'll leave the public hearing open so that the applicant can continue to speak to the board and we'll have more discussion. So a motion to.
I'll make a motion, we continue this to May
With
16th.
the public hearing, May 16th.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Okay,
Uh,
thank you, Mr. Chair. You're welcome.
A motion,
Yes.
make a motion, we accept the minutes from last month as printed.
How about the one from February? I would like to make a motion to do the one from February.
Okay. That's not the one where, it's not ours, productive.
It was February 8th. It was the one we did with the, William Martin.
Oh, that's the one before you. We didn't have a meeting in
We
March.
didn't have a meeting, Mark, that's why.
All right, so you moved to accept the minutes.
Okay.
What meeting, the date again?
February 8th, 2024. Wait for that.
So may I hear a second? Okay, in discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jim, aye.
Aye.
Dick?
Aye.
Aye. That record shows you. Before we adjourn. So
Are we, is the meeting still?
how ironic. So the board, you can help me with this, Eric. The board that begins the process has to finish the process. I don't think another member could sit in the next meeting or can they?
That if the board member misses one meeting, they are allowed to watch the transcript, read the reading minutes, hear the recording, and sign off on the Mullins Rule affidavit statement, and they're able to participate and vote.
Okay, so Victor could move on to the planning board and we could have Peter listen to the meeting.
However,
Maybe.
gets appointed, there's a 35-day period, right? Some
No,
weird number.
it's 35 days from the date that the clerk receives the application. Janine is telling everyone that 5 days after the city council meetings, that's the date. If you're not blocked by the city council, you will become a member of the planning board, and the wording of your resignation will say that you're now off of the zoning board. So you'll be done by the end of April with the zoning board.
If I get elected.
I'm sure, well, it takes 9 people to not.
Never know.
I
don't know.
Do they pay more than this group?
Yeah.
Twice as much.
I'm hopeful.
I got a question, so I understand the appointment process. I should know the answer, but I don't. So when the city council votes in, to say they vote to approve his appointment, you're not full planning board. Are you saying that there's not a 30-day period after that where he has to wait before he gets sworn in?
See, everybody thinks that the council approves the appointment. What happens is that the appointment is made. It's the mayor's prerogative. She files it with the city clerk.
Yep.
That starts a meter running. If the city council does not like any of the appointments, they have to act within 30 days from that filing. If they do nothing, the appointment goes through on day 35. So what they do is they course, they don't want to lose their opportunity. So there's a A&O and a council meeting within that 30-day period. And the council's only power by a 2/3 vote is to say no. So if 6 people say no, it goes through. If 8 people say no, it goes through. So, so unless they say no by at least 9 people, if I'm assuming the mayor, that the 25th is the 35th day, you will then have the power to sit on the board. And we have Eric Green here, who has been nominated by the mayor to be an alternate to replace Victor. And Eric is still going through the same process. His name is on for the zoning board. And I'm told that the 25th, if people don't say no at the council meeting, Eric will be the new alternate on the board. Because you're in unless you're voted out.
Good to see another young fellow. We need some more ladies.
Okay. Thank you very much. Great compliment. Yeah, welcome. Good timing. So,
Am I the only one?
so do you feel, Eric, that we can have Peter follow the rule and come in and sit? Because he was here for the other special permit. I mean, he wouldn't have a hard time catching up by listening to the tape and.
No, he should be able to do it. If it's the dates you're talking about, he should have plenty of time to be sworn in and to.
So you can tape, you can watch the.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Take a watch. So you're free to move on.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. So may I hear,
That's good questions.
may I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay, all in favor, just say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.